The starship Aurora glided silently through the deep black of space, its polished hull reflecting distant stars. Inside the ship, Dr. Elena Cade studied the readouts on her console. Her heart beat faster than usual. She had traveled across hundreds of light years to reach the planet Virelia, a world inhabited by the Aurelians, one of the galaxy's most intelligent and mysterious alien species. For months she had prepared for this moment, studying their culture, their language, and their biology, but nothing could have prepared her for what awaited. The planet below shimmered in hues of blue and green, oceans stretching beyond sight, forests glowing faintly with bioluminescence, and mountains that pierced the clouds. Virelia was beautiful, but it was fragile. Its advanced civilization depended on precise environmental balance, and even small disruptions could have catastrophic effects. Elena's mission was initially simple: observe, document, and learn. But a transmission from the Aurelians had changed everything. The message was short, urgent, and full of emotion, a language of sounds and patterns that had required days of decoding. It had translated roughly to, "The Queen is injured. The child cannot survive without care. Only a human can help." At first, Elena had thought it was a mistake. How could a human be the only one capable of caring for an alien infant? The Aurelians were renowned for their intelligence and technology. Surely they had advanced medical tools, automated systems, and experienced caretakers. Yet the message was clear. And now, as she descended toward Virelia's surface in the ship's sleek shuttle, Elena understood that she would soon face a challenge unlike anything she had encountered before. The shuttle's landing gear touched the soft, glowing soil of the capital city, Aurelia Prime. The city was breathtaking. Towers of crystalline structures reflected the twin suns, and streets floated above rivers of shimmering liquid. There was no noise as humans would know it. Instead, the air was filled with harmonic vibrations, a language of tone and resonance that conveyed emotions and information all at once. Elena stepped out, her boots making soft impressions in the glowing ground. She was greeted by a delegation of Aurelians, their forms tall and slender, skin shifting in colors that changed with every subtle emotion. They moved with a grace that was almost hypnotic, their long fingers delicate yet strong. At the center of the delegation was the Queen's advisor, a being named Lysera, whose skin glimmered silver, a sign of both authority and concern. Elena Cade. Lysera's voice resonated directly in her mind, a technique all Aurelians used for clear communication. "You are here to care for the child of our Queen. Understand that this is not a request. It is a necessity. Only your species possesses the adaptability and compassion required." Elena swallowed hard. I understand," she replied. Her voice felt small compared to the weight of their expectations. She had trained for first contact situations, for alien medicine, for xenobiology. But this was far more personal. She was not merely a scientist. She was about to become a caretaker for a life so fragile it defied comprehension. Lysera led her to the royal palace, a structure that seemed grown rather than built. Its walls pulsed gently with a light that mirrored the planet's own rhythms. Inside, the corridors curved and twisted like the spirals of a living organism. Elena felt a strange sense of awe. Everything in this palace was alive, or at least seemed alive, and at the heart of it all, she would find the child. The nursery was unlike any room Elena had ever seen. Soft glowing mats lined the floor, walls hummed in calming tones, and bioluminescent flowers released subtle fragrances that changed depending on mood and need. And there, in a cradle shaped from living crystal, lay the child. Its skin shimmered with a faint pearlescent glow, tiny limbs trembling slightly. Its eyes, large and luminous, seemed to look right into her soul. Elena approached slowly, remembering everything she had studied about the child's species. The infant's biology was delicate, far beyond human fragility. It could not survive on mechanical feeders or alien caregivers' routines. It needed constant attention, reassurance, and a touch that could sense its every fluctuation, a touch that only a human hand, with its warmth and unpredictability, could provide. She knelt beside the cradle and extended her hand. The child's skin rippled in soft colors, shades of blue and green that indicated curiosity, a lack of fear, and perhaps even hope. Elena felt a surge of responsibility and fear. This tiny being's life now rested in her hands. She carefully lifted it, cradling it against her chest. Its body was so light that it felt almost ethereal, and yet she sensed the immense potential within it, a spark of life that was both fragile and extraordinary. For hours, Elena observed and adapted. She discovered that the child responded to rhythm and gentle movement. When she hummed softly, the colors on its skin brightened, and its tiny hands reached instinctively toward her. She learned to adjust feeding patterns, noticing subtle changes in color that indicated hunger, discomfort, or contentment. Each moment was a delicate dance, a test of patience and intuition. The Aurelians observed silently. Some were skeptical, their colors flickering with doubt and uncertainty. They had never seen a human interact with their young in such a way. Yet slowly their skepticism gave way to fascination. They watched as Elena instinctively soothed the child during a minor episode of stress, her actions precise, compassionate, and creative. She did not rely on technology alone. She relied on understanding, observation, and the willingness to act instinctively. Night came on Varelia, and the palace hummed with calming rhythms. Elena stayed awake with the child, marveling at the resilience of life. She realized that her human qualities, curiosity, empathy, adaptability, were exactly what the Aurelians needed. Machines could follow protocols, but they could not improvise in the way humans could, nor could they respond emotionally in real time to a being whose very existence was fragile and unique. By the time dawn arrived, Elena had learned the child's basic needs, and the child had begun to respond positively to her presence. Its colors danced in brighter shades, expressing something that resembled trust. The weight of the moment was not lost on her. She was not just a scientist or an observer. She was now a guardian, a bridge between species, a living proof that humanity could succeed where advanced technology alone might fail. Lysera approached again, her silver skin now tinged with softer shades. "You understand, human," she said, "that your role is unprecedented. Your species has been underestimated by many, but you possess something the rest of us cannot. This child's survival, and perhaps the future of our understanding of humans, depends on you." Elena nodded, feeling a mix of pride and immense responsibility. "I won't let the child down," she promised. "I'll do everything I can." The Aurelian stepped back, leaving her alone with the infant. For the first time, she allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection. Humanity had always struggled to prove itself in a galaxy filled with powerful civilizations. Yet here, on this distant world, a single human's compassion and ingenuity were not only valued, they were indispensable. As the twin suns of Varelia rose, casting golden light over the palace, Elena held the child close. She felt the subtle warmth of its life, the promise of potential, and the fragile beauty of trust that spanned across worlds. She realized that this was only the beginning. Challenges lay ahead: political tensions, cultural misunderstandings, and the child's unpredictable needs. But for the first time, she felt a profound sense of purpose. Humanity, she thought, could shine not through domination or power, but through care, courage, and connection. And somewhere deep in the palace, the Queen's telepathic presence watched, faint but aware, sensing that the future of her child, and perhaps the future of her people's relationship with humanity, was in very capable hands. The first days on Varelia passed slowly but intensely for Dr. Elena Cade. Every moment was a learning experience. The child of the Aurelian Queen was unlike any life form she had encountered in her career. Its skin constantly shifted in delicate patterns, colors flowing and changing like living light. Blue indicated curiosity, green reflected calm, and sudden flashes of red hinted at discomfort or distress. No machine could interpret the nuances as quickly as Elena could. She had discovered almost immediately that her human instincts were uniquely suited to respond to the infant's subtle cues. Every morning, she woke before the twin suns rose, slipping quietly into the nursery. The palace's harmonic tones had become familiar to her, a background music of sorts that seemed to pulse in rhythm with the child's heartbeat. At first, the infant was cautious, unsure of the human presence. Its colors danced nervously, flickering between muted blues and pale greens. Elena spoke softly, her voice calm and steady. She hummed a tune she had improvised, a simple pattern of notes that, by observation, seemed to relax the child. Over the first week, Elena experimented with gentle movements, rocking the infant, observing how it responded. She learned that it liked being swaddled in soft biofabric wraps that adapted to its body temperature. She also discovered that it responded positively to warmth from human skin. The child's skin shimmered brighter when she held it close, as if it recognized a protective presence. She was struck by how fragile it was and yet how intelligent, sensing her actions with a subtle awareness that sometimes made her feel as if it understood her thoughts. The Aurelians watched quietly from a distance. Their society valued logic, precision, and careful observation, but humans were different. Elena's movements were not rigid or programmed. She improvised constantly, adjusting to the infant's unpredictable reactions. She noticed small details, how a slight tilt of her hand could comfort it, how a humming rhythm synchronized with its own pulses of light, how breathing together could calm even sudden bursts of distress. Lysera returned to the nursery one morning, her silver skin flickering with curiosity. "You have learned quickly, human," she said, her voice resonating directly in Elena's mind. "You interpret subtle signals that would take an Aurelian months to understand. Our own caretakers would fail in this task." Elena smiled faintly, though she felt the weight of responsibility pressing on her shoulders. "I am learning from the child as much as it is learning from me," she said. "It communicates in ways I never imagined, but I can feel what it needs." Lysera's tone softened, a rare sign of approval. "This bond is unprecedented. You show qualities that we have long underestimated in humans: empathy, adaptability, intuition. These are not weaknesses. They are strengths." The days became a rhythm of observation, care, and quiet discovery. Elena experimented with feeding. The child's metabolism was delicate, requiring a substance synthesized from its mother's biosignals. Even a tiny delay could cause discomfort or instability. Machines could administer the feed, but only a human could sense the precise moment when it was needed. Elena learned to read the subtle color shifts that indicated hunger or overfullness. With each successful feeding, she felt the bond growing stronger. By the second week, the child had begun to recognize her presence. Its colors pulsed brighter when she entered the room, and it sometimes reached out small, translucent hands toward her. Elena found herself speaking softly, sharing stories of Earth, describing sunlight on her home planet, telling tales of oceans and forests. She could not know if the child understood words, but its skin responded to the rhythms of her speech, brightening and swirling as if absorbing meaning in its own way. Other Aurelians began to take notice. Initially skeptical, they had doubted that humans could handle such responsibility. Now they observed with growing respect. Some whispered among themselves, their skin shifting in muted tones. Others simply watched in silence, fascinated by the human ability to improvise care in ways their advanced technology could not. One afternoon, as the twin suns hung high in the sky, the child experienced a sudden episode. Its skin flashed red in jagged bursts, and it let out high-pitched vibrations that echoed through the nursery. Machines activated automatically, attempting to stabilize it, but the child resisted. Elena realized that no technology could calm it. It needed understanding, not algorithms. She knelt beside the crib, placing a hand gently on the child's chest. She hummed a soft, steady tune, moving her hand rhythmically. Slowly, the red flashes faded to gentle blues and greens. The child's body relaxed in her arms. Elena exhaled, relief flooding through her. She had acted on instinct, relying on nothing but her observation and intuition. In that moment, she knew what the Aurelians meant. Humans could respond in real time to emotional and physical cues in a way that no machine, or even most other species, could match. The queen, still weak but recovering, observed these moments through her telepathic link with her child. She had been skeptical at first, doubting the abilities of humans. Now she could sense something profound. The humans' qualities were unique, almost magical in their effectiveness. It was not strength nor intelligence alone, but empathy and adaptability that allowed this fragile being to survive. Over time, Elena introduced gentle play. She placed small, glowing orbs near the child that responded to movement. The child learned to reach for them, colors shifting in excitement. She invented soft games that encouraged coordination and awareness. Each success brought delight not just to her, but to the observing Aurelians. They began to understand that this human's methods, though simple, produced results far beyond what they had imagined. Yet not all Aurelians were pleased. A faction within the palace whispered doubts. They worried that human influence might endanger the royal lineage. that dependence on an outsider was risky. Some tried to intervene, suggesting that only Aurelian caretakers should continue. Elena sensed their tension but remained focused. She knew that patience, observation, and consistent care were the keys to winning trust. She did not confront them directly. Instead, she let her actions speak. One evening, as the twin suns set, casting long shadows across the crystalline walls of the palace, Elena sat with the child in her arms. The room was filled with the soft, harmonic tones of the palace, and the child's skin glowed in soothing shades. She marveled at the connection they had developed in such a short time. It was more than survival. It was trust, recognition, and a subtle form of communication that transcended words or species. "Tomorrow we'll try something new," she whispered softly. "You and I will explore how much we can do together." The child responded with a ripple of green light across its skin, as if acknowledging her plan. Elena smiled, feeling a surge of hope and determination. She knew that the journey ahead would be full of challenges, political tensions, unforeseen dangers, and the child's unpredictable needs. But she also knew they could succeed. Together they could overcome what no one else had. Night fell on Veralia, and Elena remained vigilant. She understood that this bond was fragile, precious, and rare. Humanity had always struggled to earn recognition among the stars, but here, in this luminous palace, one human had proven that empathy, courage, and adaptability could make the impossible possible. The child's life depended on it, and in caring for it, she had discovered something deeper about herself and her species. As she drifted into a brief rest, cradling the child, she felt the subtle pulsing of life, a rhythm shared between human and alien. It was a bond built on trust, patience, and understanding. It was a bond that would carry them through trials no one could yet foresee. And Elena knew deep in her heart that she was exactly where she needed to be, at the intersection of two worlds, a human proving that care and compassion were sometimes more powerful than any machine, any weapon, or any alien technology. The first week had been a success. The child had survived, and the fragile trust between human and Aurelians had begun to grow. But this was only the beginning. Soon Elena would face challenges that would test her limits, force her to make difficult decisions, and demonstrate in ways both subtle and dramatic the remarkable strength of humanity. For now, though, she simply held the child close, listening to its quiet rhythms, marveling at the colors that flowed across its delicate skin, and feeling the profound certainty that she had been chosen for a reason. A human could care in ways the universe had not anticipated, and that, she realized, was something worth everything. The palace of Veralia shimmered under the twin suns, its crystalline walls reflecting light across the lush city below. For Dr. Elena Cade, every day brought new challenges with the Queen's child, but she had begun to feel confident in her role. She had learned to interpret every color, every subtle change in the infant's skin, and her bond with the child had grown stronger. Yet in the quiet corridors of the palace, not all eyes watched her with approval. A faction of the Aurelian court, led by a senior advisor named Thalrin, viewed Elena's success with suspicion. Their skin shifted in muted, tense colors when she entered a room, signaling unease and doubt. They whispered among themselves, fearing that dependence on a human might threaten the royal lineage. They did not understand that Elena's presence was not a threat. It was a lifeline. But fear and tradition were powerful forces, and they were determined to act. One morning, Elena noticed subtle changes in the atmosphere. Guards who normally greeted her with calm, flowing tones now appeared tense and hesitant. The air vibrated with caution, a low hum that suggested a plan was in motion. The child, sensing the change, let out soft pulses of red across its skin, signaling discomfort and anxiety. Elena immediately knew something was wrong. Lysera, the Queen's loyal advisor, approached her quietly. "There are those in the court who question your role, human. They do not see your value, only the risk." Her silver skin flickered with concern. "You must remain vigilant. Some will attempt to intervene." Elena nodded, tightening her hold on the child. She had known that her presence was unprecedented, but she had not expected outright resistance so soon. "I understand," she said. "We'll face it together." That evening, an incident tested her resolve. As Elena prepared the child for sleep, a group of palace attendants arrived unexpectedly, claiming that protocol demanded the child be handed to an Aurelian caretaker. Their tones were sharp and their colors flashed with impatience and subtle menace. Elena stood her ground. The child is not ready. It needs calm, consistent care. Please wait until I have finished the routine. Her voice was firm but respectful. She knew that confrontation could escalate tensions, but she could not risk the child's well-being. The attendants hesitated, their colors flickering with anger and confusion. Elena used the moment to subtly shift the environment. She hummed softly, her voice creating vibrations that resonated with the nursery. The child's skin brightened in response, the red pulses fading into soothing green. The attendants paused, witnessing how the child responded only to Elena's presence. This is why she is needed, Lysera said quietly, standing nearby. Observe but do not interfere. Days later, the situation escalated. Thalrin orchestrated a subtle sabotage, using the palace's advanced systems to create disruptions. A feeding device malfunctioned, a soft humming mechanism faltered, and small alarms sounded designed to provoke panic in the infant. Elena reacted immediately, her human intuition guiding her actions. She calmed the child, adjusting manual feeding techniques and physically stabilizing the delicate systems. While Aurelians relied on technology and strict procedures, Elena's improvisation proved faster and more effective. She moved quickly, combining careful observation with immediate action. The child responded instantly, its skin shifting to vibrant greens and blues, signaling relief and trust. Later, Lysera confronted her. You acted as expected. Machines would have taken minutes to adjust. You did it in seconds. This is why humans are remarkable, Elena smiled faintly. I do what needs to be done. That's all. But even as she succeeded, the court's faction was growing bolder. Thalrin began spreading rumors that Elena's care might weaken the child, suggesting that the human presence could influence the royal lineage in unpredictable ways. Some junior officials hesitated, unsure whom to trust. One night, the palace experienced an unusual power fluctuation. The lights dimmed, and the harmonic tones of the walls faltered. Elena noticed immediately that the child's colors were flickering rapidly, signaling fear and discomfort. She moved quickly, holding the child close, speaking softly and creating a calming rhythm of sound and motion. The child's skin gradually stabilized, returning to soft blues and greens. As the emergency subsided, Elena realized the severity of the threat. Someone in the palace was deliberately testing her, attempting to destabilize both her and the child. She could not confront the entire court, but she could anticipate patterns, predict responses, and ensure the child's safety. Her adaptability, a trait unique to humans, was now the key to survival. Over the next several days, Elena carefully observed the court's behaviors. She noticed subtle patterns, shifts in tone, color, and movement that indicated hidden intentions. She began to anticipate interruptions and disruptions before they occurred. Her knowledge of human psychology, combined with acute observation, gave her an advantage that technology or strict rules could never provide. The child, too, seemed to understand the tension. Its colors occasionally flashed in muted reds when certain officials approached, as if signaling danger. Elena learned to read these signs quickly, adjusting routines to minimize stress. She realized that she and the child were becoming a team, communicating silently through touch, sound, and color, a partnership no one else could replicate. One afternoon, Thalrin confronted her directly, his presence imposing and sharp. "Human," he said, his skin flashing dark orange, a sign of anger. "You have been here long enough. The Queen's child must be cared for by its own kind. Step aside." Elena remained calm, holding the child securely. "The child is safe with me. It is responding to my care. If you truly wish to protect it, you will trust that I know what it needs." Thalrin's eyes narrowed, and for a tense moment, the room seemed to vibrate with unspoken conflict. Then the child shifted its skin to bright green and reached a small hand toward Elena, as if affirming her words. The gesture was subtle but powerful. Even the skeptics could see that the bond was real. Lysera, appearing at the edge of the room, intervened. "Enough, Thalrin. You will not endanger the child with your impatience. Observe and learn, or step aside." Her voice carried authority that silenced the room. Despite the confrontation, Elena understood that this was only the beginning. The court's faction was determined, and the child's well-being depended on her continued vigilance. She began developing routines that could adapt to interruptions, creating flexible schedules, and finding ways to maintain calm even in unpredictable circumstances. She relied not on force or intimidation, but on observation, quick thinking, and emotional intelligence. In the evenings, she took moments to reflect. Humanity, she realized, had always faced resistance, skepticism, and doubt in the galaxy. But the same qualities that allowed humans to survive on Earth, adaptability, creativity, and empathy, were proving invaluable here. It was not strength, technology, or authority that mattered most, but the ability to understand, respond, and care in ways others could not. One night, as she held the child close under the soft glow of the nursery, she whispered stories of Earth. She spoke of forests where sunlight filtered through leaves, oceans stretching to the horizon, and mountains that pierced clouds. She did not know if the child understood the words, but its skin pulsed with colors of curiosity and calm, and for the first time, it reached a tiny hand to touch her face. The gesture was more than affection. It was recognition. Elena smiled, feeling a warmth that went beyond duty. This bond was real. It was trust built on care, not obligation, and it was strong enough to withstand the challenges that lay ahead. Yet the palace remained a place of tension. Every day brought new tests, unexpected interruptions, subtle challenges from skeptical officials, and whispers of dissent. But Elena had learned to anticipate, adapt, and respond. The child's survival depended on it, and she would not fail. By the end of the week, even some skeptics began to see the truth. Elena's calm decisiveness, creativity, and emotional intuition had saved the child from stress, minor health crises, and environmental instability. She had shown that human qualities, often underestimated by advanced civilizations, were essential in situations where logic and technology alone could not suffice. And as she prepared the child for sleep one night, Elena realized something profound. Humanity's greatest strength was not in weapons, machines, or sheer intelligence, but in the ability to connect, to care, and to act decisively when others hesitated. In this moment, she understood why the Aurelians had called upon her. She was exactly what the child and perhaps the entire palace needed. Outside the nursery, the palace continued its silent hum, the colors of its walls shifting gently with the rhythm of the twin suns. Inside, Elena and the child shared a quiet moment, a bond that transcended species, fear, and skepticism. And though threats from within the court persisted, one truth remained clear. With care, courage, and intelligence, humans could succeed where others could not. The challenges ahead would be greater, more complex, and perhaps more dangerous. But Elena was ready. She had learned to navigate alien politics, to anticipate deception, and to protect the most fragile life in the galaxy. And she knew that, together with the child, they could face whatever came next. The palace, for all its beauty and sophistication, had never seen a partnership quite like this. Human and alien, bound by trust. The twin suns of Virelia rose high, bathing the palace in golden light. Dr. Elena Cade felt the warmth on her face, a reminder that life continued even in the midst of uncertainty. For days she had cared for the Queen's child, navigating subtle challenges from the skeptical faction of the court. Yet today, a new and far greater challenge awaited. A sudden alert sounded throughout the palace. The planetary energy grids were failing. The harmonic tones of the palace walls flickered and faded, a subtle tremor echoing through the corridors. Elena immediately recognized the danger. The energy grids powered not only the palace's lights and systems, but also life support for the child and the delicate bioscapes that sustained Virelia's ecosystem. Without intervention, the palace, and potentially the city, would face catastrophic consequences. Lysera approached, her silver skin flashing pale colors of concern. The solar storm is affecting the grids. Our systems are failing. It is unlike anything we have seen before. Protocols alone cannot stabilize it. Elena's mind raced. She knew that the Aurelians had the most advanced technology in the galaxy, yet even their systems could not adjust in real time to the chaos of a solar storm. Here, her human skills, adaptability, intuition, and improvisation were the only hope. "Show me the controls," she said. "I'll do what I can." The control room was vast, filled with complex panels, holographic displays, and flowing data streams. Aurelians normally approach this technology with methodical precision, relying on calculated sequences. Elena, however, acted differently. She observed patterns in the failing grids, tracing fluctuations and predicting where overloads would occur next. While machines tried to process vast amounts of data, she relied on intuition, noticing small discrepancies that indicated potential danger points. "Follow my lead," she instructed a team of nervous Aurelians. "We'll combine what you know with quick adjustments. Trust me." Working swiftly, Elena guided the team. She adjusted energy flow manually, rerouting power to essential systems, stabilizing life support for the child, and balancing the grids in sections rather than as a whole. The Aurelian systems were precise but rigid. Her improvisation allowed them to respond flexibly to unpredictable surges. Meanwhile, the Queen's child sensed the tension. Its skin pulsed rapidly, colors flashing from pale blues to deep reds. Elena held the child close, humming a calm rhythm to help it relax. Her hands adjusted minor sensory devices attached to the child, regulating temperature, comfort, and heartbeat alignment. Even the tiniest delay could have caused panic, but Elena's steady presence reassured the infant. Outside the control room, the solar storm raged, a magnificent but dangerous spectacle. Plasma arcs danced across Virelia's upper atmosphere, sending pulses of energy toward the planet. The palace trembled as systems strained under the sudden fluctuations. Many Aurelians watched in awe and fear, realizing that Elena's quick thinking was preventing disaster. Hours passed, and gradually the grids began to stabilize. Systems hummed back to life. The palace lights brightened, and the nursery's gentle tones returned. Elena exhaled, exhausted but relieved. She checked the child, who now glowed softly with green and blue, signaling comfort and trust. The infant nestled against her, a subtle sign of recognition and relief. Lysera approached, her skin shifting through hues of admiration. "You have done what no Aurelian could," she said. "Your actions saved the child, the palace, and perhaps even the city. Humans are extraordinary." Elena smiled, though she felt the weight of responsibility pressing on her still. "I just acted quickly. I used what I knew and paid attention to what the systems and the child needed." But the incident had changed perceptions. The faction led by Thalrin, once openly skeptical, now regarded her with a mixture of respect and caution. They could not deny the effectiveness of her methods, which combined observation, adaptability, and immediate action, qualities no rigid system could replicate. In the following days, Elena introduced new routines combining human improvisation with Aurelian technology. She developed feeding protocols that adapted in real time, soothing techniques that responded to emotional signals, and small exercises that promoted growth and coordination in the child. The infant flourished under her care, its colors more vibrant, its movements more confident, and its curiosity expanding. One afternoon, while supervising an interactive learning session, Elena noticed subtle tension in the palace. Thalrin had been quietly observing, his colors flickering between dark orange and pale yellow. He approached cautiously. "Human," he said, "your methods work, but some in the court remain uneasy. What you have done is remarkable, but we cannot rely entirely on one outsider." Elena studied him, keeping her voice calm. "I am not asking for blind trust. I am showing results. The child is thriving because of the combination of care and observation. If you wish to help, work with me. If not, do not interfere." Thalrin paused as if weighing her words. The child, sensing the subtle tension, reached toward Elena, its skin pulsing with soothing green. The gesture was silent but clear. It was trust, complete trust in her. Thalrin's skin shifted slowly, signaling reluctant acknowledgement. That evening, Elena reflected on the events of the past weeks. Humanity had often been underestimated in the galaxy, seen as fragile, emotional, or unpredictable. Yet here in the heart of Virelia, a single human had proven that care, creativity, and adaptability could accomplish what advanced technology could not. It was not brute strength or speed or intelligence alone. It was understanding, action, and compassion combined. Even the Queen, though still recovering, sensed the difference. Through her telepathic link with her child, she observed Elena's actions during the crisis. She had watched as a human saved the infant and stabilized the palace's systems when her own people could not. For the first time, She truly appreciated the unique qualities of humanity: courage under pressure, resourcefulness, and the ability to act decisively while maintaining empathy. Elena spent nights analyzing the solar storm data, preparing for potential future events. She taught some of the palace technicians how to anticipate system failures more flexibly, showing them ways that human intuition could complement technology. The court began to see her not just as a caretaker, but as a valuable strategist and problem solver. The child, too, thrived in ways that amazed even the Aurelians. It learned to respond to small cues, experimented with colors and patterns, and even began displaying signs of early communication. Elena's presence was essential in guiding these developments. Machines could support growth, but only a human could inspire confidence, curiosity, and trust in a being so fragile. One day, Lysera brought the queen herself to the nursery. The child's skin shifted in joyful hues at the sight of its mother. Elena gently handed the infant into the queen's arms, demonstrating the care routines she had established. The queen watched closely, her expression a mixture of pride and gratitude. "You have saved my child," the queen said, her voice resonating in Elena's mind. "More than that, you have taught us something important. There are strengths in humans that we cannot replicate. We cannot ignore them. Your presence here has changed the way we see your people." Elena bowed slightly, feeling the weight of the moment. "I only did what was needed. The child is remarkable. It is a privilege to care for it." The queen nodded, her skin glowing with appreciation. "Privilege is earned through courage, compassion, and action. You have earned it." As the day ended, Elena sat quietly with the child. The palace hummed around them, systems stable, the city safe, and trust firmly established. Yet she knew the galaxy would continue to test humanity's place. Other challenges would come, other crises would threaten, and other civilizations might underestimate humans. But here, in this luminous palace, she had demonstrated a truth that could not be denied. Humans were capable of extraordinary feats, not through dominance but through empathy, ingenuity, and the courage to act when others could not. The child shifted its colors gently, glowing softly in Elena's arms. She smiled, feeling a warmth that transcended words or species. Humanity had proven its worth in a galaxy of doubt, and she was living proof. The palace doors closed quietly behind them, sealing the nursery in golden light. Outside, the solar storm continued its distant dance, a reminder that danger was never far. But inside, human care had triumphed, and Elena knew that whatever came next, the combination of human intuition, courage, and empathy would be a force that no civilization could ignore. For the first time, she allowed herself to feel calm, not because the world was safe, but because she had demonstrated the human advantage. Where logic and technology failed, understanding and action could prevail. Where rigidity faltered, adaptability could shine. And where fear threatened, compassion could conquer. The child stirred, shifting its skin in bright, playful patterns, and Elena laughed softly. Together, they had faced challenges no one had anticipated, and together they would face whatever came next. The future was uncertain, but one truth was clear. Humanity could thrive, not because of its machines or weapons, but because of its heart. The Palace of Veralia glowed in the soft light of the twin suns. Dr. Elena Cade moved quietly through its halls, carrying the Queen's child in her arms. The infant had grown stronger, its skin now shimmering with vibrant colors that reflected curiosity, playfulness, and trust. The fragile being who had arrived weeks ago was no longer delicate in despair but resilient, thriving under the care of a human whose presence had transformed both child and palace. Elena's days were full of routine and discovery. She had developed protocols that combined human intuition with Aurelian technology, creating an environment where the child could flourish. She adjusted feeding, play, and learning activities in real time, responding instantly to changes in the child's behavior or mood. Machines could assist, but only a human could sense what the infant needed before it could even express it. Every moment required observation, creativity, and empathy, and Elena had proven herself capable of all three. The Queen, still recovering from her injuries, watched with awe and gratitude. Her telepathic connection with her child allowed her to sense the bond that had developed. What she had once seen as human frailty now appeared as unmatched strength. Elena had demonstrated that courage, adaptability, and care were sometimes more powerful than technology or tradition. "You have given my child life and security," the queen said one morning, her voice resonating directly in Elena's mind. Her silver skin glimmered softly, the traditional Aurelian display of calm and appreciation. "But more than that, you have shown us a new way to see humanity. Perhaps we have underestimated your people for too long." Elena smiled, holding the child carefully. "I only did what was necessary. The child is remarkable. I am honored to help." Word of her actions had begun to spread across Viralia. Even those who had doubted her capabilities, the faction led by Thalrin, could no longer deny the truth. The child's health and happiness were undeniable proof of her skill. Some skeptics approached her cautiously, seeking guidance or offering assistance in ways that respected her methods. Slowly, the court began to embrace collaboration, realizing that human care offered something that their advanced systems could not: adaptability, empathy, and real-time problem-solving. One afternoon, a delegation of Aurelian officials arrived from a neighboring city. They had heard of Elena's success and were curious to see for themselves. As they observed her tending to the child, they noted every subtle movement: how she adjusted a soft wrap to the infant's temperature, how she hummed a rhythm that seemed to synchronize with its heartbeat, how she instinctively responded to color shifts signaling emotion or need. "She is remarkable," one of the officials whispered. "No technology could do this." The child, sensing new observers, initially flashed uncertain colors. Elena smiled reassuringly and began a gentle game, encouraging the infant to reach for a floating orb that responded to touch. The colors shifted rapidly: greens, blues, even hints of playful yellow, and the observers watched in awe. The child's response was clear: trust and comfort in Elena's care. Lysera approached, her skin flickering silver and soft gold, a rare display of joy. "Human," she said quietly. "You have not only cared for the child, but you have also taught us a lesson. Your presence has changed how we see your species. There is wisdom in what you offer, wisdom that comes from courage, understanding, and heart." Elena felt a warmth she could not describe. She had always believed in the potential of humanity, in the value of empathy and action. To see it recognized by a species so advanced and proud filled her with both humility and hope. As the weeks passed, Elena introduced small lessons for the child. She created simple problem-solving games that encouraged coordination, curiosity, and focus. The infant learned to anticipate outcomes, interact with objects, and respond to both sound and color. Every success brought delight not only to Elena but to the observing Aurelians. Even Thalrin, once her harshest critic, watched quietly, a flicker of acknowledgement in his skin. One day, the queen called Elena to the palace's central chamber. She carried the child in her arms, who now reached for her mother with bright, excited colors. The queen looked at Elena and spoke with solemn pride. "You have earned a place here not only as the child's caretaker but as a bridge between our peoples. We recognize that your actions have saved more than life. They have saved understanding, trust, and hope. We ask that you remain as an advisor and protector for the future of this child and the future of Virelia's relationship with humans." Elena felt her heart swell. She had traveled across galaxies to study alien life, but she had never imagined she would be offered a role of such importance. She looked at the child, who now rested comfortably in her arms, its skin pulsing gently in bright greens and blues. "I will stay," she said softly, "for the child and for what we can build together." The queen smiled, her colors glowing softly in gratitude. "Then let this be the beginning of something new. Your people have a place here, and the child's life is proof of what can be achieved when understanding transcends difference." Elena began her new role with quiet determination. Each day brought challenges, from minor health crises to the management of cultural differences in the palace. Yet she thrived, drawing on the same human qualities that had allowed her to succeed before: observation, intuition, empathy, and courage. Her influence gradually spread through the court. Officials who had once resisted her methods now adopted aspects of her approach, blending human flexibility with Aurelian precision. The child continued to grow, learning not only from Elena but also from its mother and the palace environment. It began to experiment with colors, creating patterns of its own choosing. It learned to respond to gentle commands, to interact with simple tools, and to explore its surroundings with increasing confidence. Elena encouraged exploration, always ensuring that safety and care were maintained. One evening, as the twin suns set and bathed the palace in warm light, Elena held the child close. "Look at how far you've come," she whispered. "You are strong, curious, and brave. And you taught me something too, about trust, hope, and the power of care." The child responded with a gentle pulse of bright green, reaching out to touch her face. The gesture was more than affection. It was recognition, a silent acknowledgement of partnership. Elena smiled, realizing that the journey they had taken together had changed both of them. In the months that followed, the palace became a center for human-Aurelian cooperation. Elena's methods were documented, shared with other caretakers, and even adapted for wider use in Verelia's society. The child's growth and well-being were celebrated as a symbol of what could be achieved when human qualities were respected and trusted. The queen, fully recovered, spoke often of Elena's contributions. "This child thrives because of care that comes from understanding, not mere procedure," she said. "Your people have gifts we cannot replicate, and we will remember this always." Elena reflected on her journey. Humanity had often struggled to prove its value in the galaxy, dismissed as fragile, emotional, or limited. Yet here, on Verelia, a single human had demonstrated that compassion, creativity, and courage could achieve what advanced technology and strict logic could not. Humans were adaptable, capable of improvisation, and able to connect in ways that other species could only aspire to. As she looked down at the child, now playing with small floating orbs that responded to its touch, Elena felt a profound sense of hope. The galaxy was vast, filled with unknown worlds and unpredictable dangers. But she knew that humanity had something unique to offer. Not weapons or dominance, but the ability to care, to understand, and to act when others could not. The palace doors opened to the city below, where Aurelians moved with their usual grace, unaware of the quiet revolution that had taken place within their walls. Yet slowly recognition spread. Other species in Verelia began to notice the changes, the acceptance of human methods, the thriving of the child, and the subtle shift in cultural attitudes. Elena's work had created a ripple that promised to extend beyond the palace, perhaps even to other civilizations in the galaxy. One night, Elena stood on the balcony of the palace, watching the twin suns dip below the horizon. The city shimmered in the soft light, and the palace hummed with life. She held the child close, who rested comfortably against her shoulder. She whispered softly, "We've done something important here, little one. Not just for you, but for all of us." The child's skin pulsed gently in response, a silent affirmation. Together they had faced challenges, navigated political intrigue, survived crises, and built a bond that transcended species. Humanity's strength had been shown not in dominance, but in care, intelligence, and courage. Elena knew that the galaxy was watching, and she also knew that humans would continue to surprise, to adapt, and to shine in ways that others could not predict. The child's life was proof of that truth, a living testament to the quiet power of understanding and compassion. As she watched the stars begin to appear in Verelia's sky, Elena felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Humanity had earned its place not through fear, not through force, but through heart. And in the heart of the Aurelian's palace, a human and a child, one from Earth, one from Verelia, had changed the course of history. The story of care, courage, and partnership was only beginning.